I wanted to do burpees, but not 300. That was a little aggressive on your part, but I guess this is what you guys do.
Yeah, well, now we're extra jacked.
There you go.
Today we hear Juliet Starrett's dramatic escape story when she was attacked by a rhino, and it's sponsored by Harrys.com.
We are back in Pittsfield, Vermont, where it's raining, with Dr. Johnny, Colonel Sephra. All right, start over. With Dr. Johnny, Sephra the plant woman, and Colonel Nye. And we interviewed Juliet Starrett, the other half of Mobility WOD, the supple leopard. Mm-hmm. And I think the biggest takeaway is she answered a question that's been haunting me for a decade at my house. Is it harder Is it harder to run a business, or is it harder to give birth?
Let's see what she says.
She answers the question. We're here in beautiful San Francisco with Juliet Starrett, owner of San Francisco Crossfit and Mobility WOD. Anybody out there that follows CrossFit knows who you guys are, you and your husband. You guys are one of the first 25 CrossFit gyms to ever open.
Yes.
Right? 10 years old. You were just saying to me, it is really difficult building a business, let alone the gym business. But you've been super successful. How? Why?
I think there's a couple things. I think you mentioned this earlier, but I have a background. I'm a lawyer by trade, and I think that gives me sort of a level of sophistication in running a business. I think we have really tried to implement best practices and treat this thing like an actual business. So it's not just kind of a fun show where people, do some weightlifting and exercising. We really have tried to take it really seriously.
A lot of gyms don't.
I think maybe a lot of people get into it thinking, oh, this is just four walls with some weights, and maybe don't appreciate the level of business acumen you need to have to really run a really good gym and have it be successful.
Level of detail to focus on.
Responsiveness,
Right.
how to manage the human resources and how to manage a big staff. And I think we've also really focused our attention on having an awesome coaching staff. And we've become known for that. And so I think that's not only a way to draw in members, but it keeps them here because, they feel like they're getting really high quality coaching. So
whatever you're doing is right, because I saw hundreds of people in the hour and a half I've been here go in and out of that gym, and speaking to your husband and the staff, it feels like I'm in a doctor's office. not a gym.
We laugh that we actually have trouble getting any work done here because, it is constantly busy.
Yeah.
We maybe have an hour in the morning and an hour in the afternoon where it's light, where there'll just be a few private clients in here. But, this place is pumping all day long.
All right, so you're a lawyer by trade.
Yeah.
You're an Olympian?
No, I was a national team whitewater paddler.
And champion.
Yeah, 2 world championships.
It's close enough to Olympic level. And a business owner and a mom. And so I got to ask you this question because I got to just put the stake in the ground with my wife. My wife says that giving birth is more difficult than running a business. I say running a business is more difficult than giving birth. You've done it all. What's more difficult?
Well, I'm remiss to ever side with anyone but the wives, but I have to agree with you. I think giving birth, and I had 2 really awful, epic births, but we're also full of so much joy. But I do think running a business is harder. It is, it is a lot of ups and downs. There's a lot of stress. You're taking a lot of risk, and there's also a real pressure because we now have a staff between our 2 businesses of about 40 people who are relying on us for their source of income and their stability, and so there's a real pressure in that. So I hate to agree with you over your wife.
Yeah, and at least with a baby, you get some feedback and you smile, right? There's some
right.
With a business, some days it's just all downhill.
Right. There's a lot of days that are just like,
what am I
Kelly
doing?
and I always say the grind is the glam because there's a lot of grind.
Yeah.
There is a lot of grind.
Let's talk a little bit about your paddling career.
Sure.
I heard you got in a fight with a hippo.
I did. I paddled on the national extreme whitewater team for 5 years, and we won 5 national championships and 2 world championships. And that was a really fun way to spend my 20s, basically. And after the 1997 World Championships, we won and went on a celebratory canoe safari on the lower part of the Zambezi with my mom and all my other teammates. We paddled through a section called the Hippo Bronx, and a 4,000-pound hippo at full speed, full tuss out, ran into our canoe, sent us both flying 10 feet into the air into hippo, crocodile infested water. And I will tell you, I've never.
Did you see him coming, or did he just?
No,
Literally, you're
no
just
idea.
paddling along, saying it's the
minding
most
my own
beautiful
business.
day
Yeah.
ever.
And you know, a little known fact is hippos kill more humans than any other wild animal. I mean, they are like nasty, and we should have known better, because when we went to this safari, you see the locals don't even go within 20 feet of the river because they've probably known someone or whatever. But that should have been a gigantic red flag for us. But I was 27 years old.
They were screaming "crazy white lady" and her mom.
Yeah,
right.
yeah. So you know, they're just like, these guys have no idea we're gonna. So I had to mark spits to the shore. I've never swam more efficiently in my entire life.
You and your teammate.
Me and my teammate, and
looked like an outboard motor.
We got up to shore, and there were still Cape buffalo and all sorts of other things out there that wanted to kill us. And literally, the guide tracked down our canoe. There were 2 huge tusk marks where my feet had been. I had 1 little cut on my foot. And he literally duct taped on 2 Tupperware lids to repair our canoe, and we had to keep going for 2 more days.
Wow.
So it was pretty epic.
So the next 2 days, were you just terrified?
I was pretty terrified, I have to say. You know, I was kind of ready to be out of there. You know, but this was also, you know, I'm assuming today on a trip like that, they would have satellite phones. I mean, this was pre-cell phone.
Oh, right.
You know,
no
so I mean,
access
we
to
were
anything.
no access to any communication of any kind. So, you know, we just had to suck it up and deal.
And so it's not that people should go out and do stupid things like that, not right? But they should get out of their comfort zone,
Yeah.
which you did, and it probably reframed the way you think, so that when there's a really bad day in business, you're like, well, at least I'm not 10 feet in the air.
Yeah.
Right? Being chased by a hippo.
I mentioned this earlier too, but I think it's, you know, you asked earlier about the business and the craziness of all that, and I think Kelly and I both, having spent a long time in our lives at a really young, formative age, taking risk, at least in that kind of format, I think really primed us to be able to do that in a business context and not feel so stressed. And also, you know, I'm a lawyer, Kelly's a PT. We do feel like we have this safety net underneath us that if our businesses ever explode and things aren't going well, that we'll always be able to pay our mortgage because we have this foundation of education.
Yeah, you've got some other tools in your toolkit.
We do.
Well, let's take a break. Why don't you and I do some like burpees or something, and then we'll come back. And I want to find out what tips you can give the audience that's going to help them get off the couch and start a business, or because you've got the experience.
Okay.
All right.
I hope you're not sitting still while you listen. If you are, you better get a burpee break in.
I just got my first Harry's delivery, and I got the best shave I've had in a long time at an amazing price. Like Spartan, Harry's this month is supporting the Movember Foundation and donating money to help raise awareness for men's health. So go to harrys.com now, and Harry's will give you $5 off if you type in my code SpartanUp with your first purchase. That's HARRYS.com, and enter coupon code SpartanUp at checkout for $5 off the starter set, and start shaving smarter today.
I wanted to do burpees, but not 300. That was a little aggressive on your part, but I guess this is what you guys do.
Yeah, well, now we're extra jacked.
There you go. So let's go back, before we get into business, let's go back to the hippo. Your husband said to me, and a lot of people that are into fitness, we certainly say it at Spartan, is you should be ready for anything. Would you say you were ready for anything that day the hippo tossed you?
I think I was ready for it. I mean, when I look back on that and reflect on that experience, I think and I don't know if it was from my athletic background as a teenager in college or whatever, but I mean, I was ready to react. And I mean, we were in the air, and I actually distinctly remember flying in the air and already knowing what my plan of attack was. Like, I did not fall in the water and come up and look around. I mean, I was like swimming before I hit the water, knowing exactly where I was going to go. So I felt primed and ready to, you know, be able to react quickly and be able to, you know, deal with the unexpected, which also is important in business.
And we're animals.
Yeah.
And there you were facing an animal. Did it feel pretty primal? Like,
it felt really primal. All thoughts of any, you know, I mean, I'm a classic woman where I'm always like thinking about my to-do list and what I have to do, and my brain is always working.
Were you worried about like losing jewelry or something? Or?
None of that. I was not worried about how much money was in my bank account, or really, I mean, it was pure survival mode.
You and the hippo.
That was it. It was like me and pure survival. So, and that's really, I mean, you don't have those experiences that often in life. I mean, you know, I certainly didn't seek that out. I mean, maybe I did accidentally, but certainly didn't seek that out. But I mean, that's a very formative experience to just have a, your
bare bones,
water, food, shelter.
You in nature.
Yeah. So maybe we could take some tips from that, some tips from you being a lawyer, some tips from the gym, for the folks out there that are trying to get off the couch and just get going. What would you say are the attributes they need to be successful? Not just in running a business. There might be somebody who wants to become a monk out there, or run a marathon or whatever. What are some of the tips to get them motivated and get stuff done?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think you either need to be or have someone working for you who is highly organized, which may be so obvious, but I think at least sometimes in the CrossFit context, it's someone who's a CrossFit coach who opens a business and maybe isn't the most super organized person, and that's fine if you're not, but you've got to have someone who is working for you, because there's a massive amount of paperwork and communication and management that's got to happen in a business. And so if there's not at least someone that's at a high level in your business who's managing all that, there's going to be issues.
Like on a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being the most organized, you need to have a 10 around you.
You need to have a 10 around you,
right.
And that's fine if you're a 5, but you need to see that in yourself. You need to realize and see what your strengths are.
Right.
And that's part of the reason why Kelly and I work so well together, is that we have very different strengths.
Yeah.
And so we work very well together. What we do in the business is totally different, and we complement each other because, we each handle different parts of the business.
Right.
I think the willingness to take risk is important, because no matter what in running a business, there's always an unknown. You can run all the financials and have a business plan and, do all the research, but no matter what, it's taking a risk. So I think being willing to do that and also having a fallback plan is important.
Right. Being able to pivot.
I think being able to pivot on the fly is super important. I think we've made all of our business decisions based on doing things that we like and care about. And I hate the word passion, and I think it's massively overused. And it's like one of those things that just bugs me. But I think that we opened San Francisco CrossFit because we discovered CrossFit. We thought it was cool. We wanted to create a place for our friends and family to train. We didn't really have a business plan. And I don't think we expected at the beginning that it was going to blossom into this place that you're visiting today with hundreds of people coming in and out. And same with Mobility WOD. With that business, we didn't start it as a business. We started it as a platform. We needed a platform because we had things we wanted to say and information that we wanted to share with the world.
You were excited about it. You wanted to bring it to the world, and then that's the best way to create a business, right?
Yeah, and we just started a simple blog and gave it away for free because, Kelly had all these things that were going through his mind that we wanted to get out to the people, and we would be there at 11 o'clock at night filming videos in our garage, and it was a grind for sure. But it wasn't until later that we really turned that into a business, and every other relationship we have from a business standpoint is all often based on, do we like these people? Right. Do we want to sit with them and get to know them? And
that's a good one, by the way. One of the I don't know if you agree with this, but one of the biggest, I've built a lot of businesses. I've had many failures, some successes, as many people have. Sometimes it's about you're just around the wrong people.
Yeah.
And are you better at determining the right and wrong people because of your legal background? Sometimes I think maybe I'm not good at it. Or
your picker is not good?
Yeah. Or I just come in contact with so many people, the odds are that you're going to have a few duds.
Yeah, I think we've been in the same boat. I think our picker has gotten way better now that we've been running businesses for 10 years, and my filter in particular, in terms of people who I'll even consider meeting with, has become way better.
I'm glad I passed the test.
But you're not alone in that. We've made decisions and choices and created relationships with people that we later regretted, and so I think that's part of the process.
Yeah.
And I think just to add to that, I think in a business, I think flexibility is a huge deal, because you've got, again, it's the ability to pivot quickly and make changes and be willing to innovate, and not just get stuck doing this is what we do, this is how we do it. We're always flexible.
Monitor the environment,
we're
make a change.
We're always monitoring the environment and seeing what's working for people and not working for people, and making adjustments on the fly.
Yeah. I love it. Would you walk us through the gym quickly?
Sure. Welcome to San Francisco CrossFit. I think the first thing we'll do is go into our office. So I want to introduce my office manager, Laura. We're talking about 4 things we think are mission critical in a business. And for me, having a friendly, super hyper organized person who's behind the scenes and here to greet customers all day long is totally mission critical.
Standing desks.
We have standing desks, which for us are important. None of us have sat. I mean, we have these stools for when we're feeling really exhausted, but that's a side conversation. Kelly and I are obsessed with standing desks, so of course we have them in our office.
Awesome. You live what you preach.
Yes. All right.
Snacks.
So, snacks.
Are snacks one of the?
I think this is a nice bonus, but I wouldn't put it in one of my top 4.
Not top 4.
Not one of my top 4.
All right.
So the second most important thing, and I think the hardest thing for a business owner, is having a super awesome, high quality staff. I want to point out Carl Powley over here. He is one of our long-term coaches, and he runs an amazing CrossFit class. He is a legend in and of himself. And we're blessed to have him. And I think as a business owner, one of the hardest challenges is having good staff and keeping your good staff.
That's your front line.
That's our front line.
Right.
And especially in a CrossFit gym, people come because they want good, high quality coaching. So it's the most important.
What do you do in a gym where you develop that personality, you give him access to all your customers, and then he leaves?
I think this has been an ongoing problem in not just CrossFit gyms, but all gyms. And we have an unusual model here where we have not only allowed, but encouraged our staff to not move on, but diversify. So they have stayed working for us and doing their own thing.
You allow them to do other businesses.
We allow them to do other businesses. In fact, we allow them to use this as a platform for their other business. We don't find that threatening or competitive.
Right.
And the reality is, especially for a coach, I saw early on that it's a hard job to do for 30 years, one-on-one clients and classes, that there's a high burnout rate. And
so they need other
if we
things.
didn't create a space for them to do other things, they would leave. And so we actually have had an amazing retention. I mean, we have tons of visitors at our gym, and people literally can't believe that Carl is still here. They're like, Carl still teaches a class here?
I swore that you were going to say you use electric collars.
Yeah. So number 3, I think we have to have a clean and functional space. So I don't know if you want to look all around, but this is a unique space because it's a former military warehouse. So we had some interesting challenges in getting it set up with all these beams. It's a historic building. It's not just like a concrete garage door kind of CrossFit gym. But I think also the space itself creates a really special vibe. So
I felt it as soon as I came here.
Yeah, there's something about the feeling of the space.
It was organized. You felt comfortable in it. Lots of light.
Organized. Yeah. We have tons of visitors. People know what to do right when they come in the door. So I think an organized, clean facility is important. And then this may seem kind of silly, but number 4 has ended up being awesome for us in this space. Is we have this hangout area, and it's actually not that many people here today at this moment, but on most days of the week we have 4 or 5 of our members here on their laptops working, people who work from home. People take meetings here. It just has created a real community space for folks. We knew we wanted some kind of space, but we didn't really expect that, it would always be used and that it would really be valued. We thought maybe at one point we would just floor out the rest of this and have more gym space. And we really protect this because it's been so important for our members and staff.
Love it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're awesome.
So good to talk to you.
Yep.
So I think we found someone who might almost give Robin Benacasa a run for her fitness money.
Yeah.
This lady is something else. Now, it's funny because obviously fitness is her life, but she talks a lot about approaching fitness as a business too. Clearly, they've done a good job with that. So, what was your?
She was a lawyer.
Yeah.
Right. So that's impressive to anybody that's able to put in all that work to become a lawyer, practice being a lawyer, and then break away and get into fitness. Be a mom. She juggles a lot. She answered my question.
Yeah, so what was the answer to that? It was pretty interesting. I heard it, but tell us.
My wife has not seen this interview yet. She will when this is wrapped up, when we wrap up here today. And she answered that running a business is more difficult than giving birth. Human body is designed to give birth, as I suspected.
Joe,
Dr. Joe.
And it's
think the
not. It is
intensity-
not designed to deal with running a business.
But I think the question is what is harder, being a parent or running a business? The giving birth is
That's
what,
what you're
at most 24 hours?
36.
Okay, 36.
We're doubling down on this, but it looks like.
No, what I'm saying is it's a temporary, you're measuring something that's temporary pain.
Barely painful.
No, it's
Joe,
extraordinary.
come on. All right, I haven't had that experience
Versus a
yet. But
long-term, so anyway.
Personally,
I'm not getting
considering
involved.
that you're practically a baby and haven't had babies yet.
thanks, Johnny.
You're welcome. I figure we probably are not the panel to be analyzing this question. We could ask our
Marion?
camerawoman.
Marion, what are your thoughts?
Marion, what do you-
I actually agree.
And there you go.
You
All
agree?
right.
You agree with what?
I agree. Having given birth, now parenting is like running a business.
Oh, there you
Giving
go,
birth
see?
is
So you,
Oh,
so you
so
agreed
okay.
with both
Marion
of us.
said
So
parenting
he's
is like
like
running a
running a
business.
business.
Giving birth is like a piece of cake,
There you
basically.
go. It's like nothing. It's easy.
The
He said
grind
gritty
is the glam.
cake.
But
That was one of her-
I also like, though, just on that
Grind
note,
is the
I love
glam.
that she said, with a business, you don't even have these beautiful little eyes looking up at you, making it all worthwhile. And so, that was how she justified saying that birth wasn't quite so bad because you had a reward out of it. Whereas a business, every day you go into the grind, which you say the grind is the glam.
glam.
What do you mean by that?
Well, she was just saying that that is the fun stuff, right? When you get to the finish line, that's not what it's all about. It's everything that leads up to the finish line. So embrace it.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Now, what do you think of that hippo story?
Oh, it's just, it is a story, I'm sure, that's the best story at any cocktail party she goes to, right? I mean, who goes out in a kayak and then
It's
just
a
gets...
canoe.
Was it a canoe versus
Definitely, I
kayak?
love
You guys
canoes.
going to fight again?
Yeah, I'm ready for safari.
Who goes out on the water and gets slammed by a hippo? I mean,
A lot of people, they're the most deadly.
are they the most deadliest animal?
That you said that.
I did say it. but
But back to your
Colonel
point.
Nye
but
said
most
it. It's
people
true.
don't go in the water with them, I would think. Or, reminds me of, the guy was in the water with the snake, the python.
Yeah.
In the swamp, Levinson Wood.
Right. But I mean,
Yeah.
but she talked about survival mode. She talked about making a decision immediately, being in the air and already knowing what she had to do when she hit land. Saying basically she was already in full stroke. I was hoping at some point you would ask her. Well, her mother was in the boat with her, right?
Yeah.
Did she pull her mother to shore? Did the mother swim?
No, the mother, she perished on that trip. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, jeez.
We're laughing, by the way. Juliet, when you watch this, please do not get upset.
That was the best.
I
best
felt terrible.
pause.
But I was curious because I don't think she talked in the story about saving her mother at all.
She was in a boat with another.
Yeah, she was in the
Oh,
boat with somebody
okay.
else.
Thank goodness she's okay.
Juliet, we're
But-
not joking about
But
your
again,
mom.
she
No.
knew immediately what was important, and survival comes in immediately, and sacrifice. Well, sacrifice. Maybe you got to outswim the other people, right?
Sure.
Or the hippo?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
but
just the other people.
Just the other people, right? That's how the
Okay.
joke goes.
Oh, I get it. A little slow.
And then we asked, we talked a lot about her businesses and stuff, and she said you got to know your strengths, you got to know your weaknesses, which it's a common theme we've heard before.
Yeah, but she said her and her husband were a well-matched pair because one is strong organizationally and one isn't kind of more of a creative person.
Yep.
And that's it's true. That's
Good
I
matchup.
wonder what
It
those
is.
kids are going to be like.
And you
gonna
need
be
that
strong.
organized.
They're
You need
gonna
that
be born in the
organized
gym.
person in your group, is what she said. And when we hire, I always like to look in somebody's car.
That's what my
If
dad
If
says.
their car is a mess, I'm concerned.
oh, thank God you haven't been in mine.
That's like my dad's person. Yeah, because
Yeah.
it does portray.
Well, and again, thinking back to her own athleticism, and you just look at her when she's talking, and she's such a strong, confident person. And same with him. You look at both of them being mobility WOD, and you really get a sense of health there. Like it's not just strength. You get some people and they're all bound up and strong, but they don't look healthy. They just look healthy. Like they look like really capable people.
The whole family. They're out there swimming. They actually, I went to their house after the interview, and they and you'll see this on a video at some point. They handed me a 45-pound dumbbell and threw me in their 11-foot deep swimming pool. And it's harder than you think to get out of the pool.
How
Well,
did,
you
how
gotta-
did they get the
Yeah,
dumbbell out?
what did you? I mean, did you have to tread water with it? Or did you
you
get
gotta get up and out. And I mean, you eventually figure it out, but it's work to get going.
Every year. Well,
Video's up now for those of you looking to see me potentially drown.
every year when we'd open up the pool at our house, my dad would dress us in full like ski gear, and this was when we were younger, obviously. And we would have to jump in the pool, and we'd have to be able to swim out with like all of that heavy gear on to make sure that we could
Handle
swim
it.
for
I
the
want to hear
season.
more stories about your childhood. This is starting to make some sense to me now.
Before I was allowed to drive in a car, I went to Skip Barber Racing School and learned how to like slide out and do defensive driving school because my dad was like, "You're not going on the road."
Which I would like
had
to
a
say, the
very-
first time I was ever in a car with Saffron, we were in an accident. The very first time. So
True.
it is all starting to make
Crash.
sense again.
That was my nickname.
Crash, yeah.
Very
yeah.
impoverished
How did the
upbringing.
Skip Barber school do?
Oh, it was great. You drive. I don't know what those red cars are. Not a Ferrari, like something. I'm sorry, I'm not a car. I like horses.
A red car.
The red
what are
ones.
those red cars called? Are they the Ferraris or the Lamborghinis?
No, it's good because you slide
Thoroughbreds.
out. You go through a slide and you learn not to slam on your brakes when you're sliding.
Yeah.
And then I had a pickup truck at one point.
What color was it?
Black. It got taken away when I went on fish tour. Anyway, I slid out at one point, and because I had the muscle memory from doing that, I knew not to slam on the brakes, and I was able to create or willing, not go into something. So I think it's all about like scaffolding the learning and just training your body and your mind for how you want to be able to react. So with that in mind, come learn some more at SpartanUpPodcast.com.
That's a very abrupt ending.
Very abrupt.
Done.
Thank you for listening to another epic story of success.
Find show notes, video, and audio from this wonderful episode at SpartanUpPodcast.com/063.
Or follow us on Twitter at SpartanUpPod. The Spartan Up Podcast is brought to you by Spartan.
To find a race near you, visit Spartan.com.